What is up, everybody? Welcome back to MLB Swing for the Fences here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. It is Tuesday, May 13th. We're talking a 10-game MLB slate. A couple games postponed, but not affecting the main slate. Should be a good one. Joined today by Steve Boyden. How you doing, Steve, on this Tuesday afternoon?
Good. I guess we'll be on back-to-back days. So Tuesday and Wednesday for me this week. Got some family coming to town, so I have to miss the Friday fireworks show, but that's all right. You know, we'll get our shows in early in the week. Actually heading up to Wrigley after the show, hopefully to see some home runs, some bombs. Belozo pitching for the Marlins. I'm sure we'll talk about that one. We were both all over the Cubs last night. Couldn't quite get it going early.
They should have smashed, man. They were hitting rockets every time they came up to the plate.
So I was at the the golf sim place that I go to, and there's TVs, and I had the Cubs game up on one of them. And I'm not watching every pitch, but every time I looked up, they're hitting a piss missile right at some outfielder or like the third baseman or something. Where it could easily go right down the line. Double starts a rally. Pretty frustrating for the Cubs yesterday, but they were really close. You could tell.
I was bullied yesterday. I don't know if you watched the show, Boyd, but they bullied me into playing 100% Dollander. They bullied me into playing 150 lineups, so I had to send it. I know I texted you and JT. I locked Dollander, which you mocked me for, but
what was my response?
Awesome.
Excuse me.
he was awesome, and then the other, I wasn't planning to play 150, so I didn't have time. So I locked Dollander and Rea, who was good too, Colin Rea, and the Cubs 5-man. And could have been an awesome night because the Cubs could have had a monster day, right? Obviously, those two cheap pitchers did really good. I had a decent night anyway, but I was hoping to finish on top for the, obviously for the money first and foremost, but also.
That'd been so great if the Cubs smash and you cash like 130 of 150 lineups.
That's what I was looking like for a while. Yeah.
Before we get started, we should shout out long-term member the Lowdown, who won the 111 yesterday. Just an awesome lineup. A guy who's been with us for a long time.
Yes, awesome to see him win the 100K. Been a lot of winners in the RPS Discord in baseball season, and frankly, I'm sure a lot more to come as the season progresses. We'll move on to today. We do got 10 games to talk about, so let's jump into it. Boyden, we've got Tampa Bay and Toronto to kick off this slate, going by the DraftKings order of games. Two righties here. Jose Barrios pitching at home for the Blue Jays against the pretty left-handed heavy Rays team. No Yandy Diaz tonight, out with paternity leave. I believe they said he's going to miss the whole series. So
it was a visa issue. It was a visa issue, I believe.
Oh, visa issue. You're right. Yeah. Can't get into Canada, right? I think is the problem. Anyway, so he's definitely going to miss all three games, and if he can't get in, so he's out. Still, I think not a great matchup for Barrios. Curious where you ended up there, and then Shane Baz, who's been really all over the place, but has been negative in 3 of his last 4 starts, negative DraftKings points. I don't think I'm getting to the Blue Jays, but I really couldn't fault anyone for doing it for a pitcher who's struggling as badly as Shane Baz is right now. Steve, where'd you end up here? First game of the night.
Yeah, my main interest is actually with Barrios here, starting together a couple of good starts in a row. Prices actually come down. The home start against the Rays, who, let's be honest, they've really kind of struggled outside of that home park. They haven't really played that many road games because they front-loaded their schedule with so many games in Tampa early. But man, over the last 2 weeks against righties, DC, third highest strikeout rate, bottom 5 in weighted runs created plus an ISO against righties.
This offense might be just kind of fraudulent in general, right? Like even the guys that were kind of carrying it, like Aranda and Meisner, have really no track record of success prior to that 3-week stretch right at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I think Barrios is really interesting at his price tag. We have a bunch of arms on this slate that are pretty long-term volatile guys. Like we'll talk about Senga, Cease, Framber. Barrios is kind of a discount version of those guys, and he's priced right near Ben Brown, who I think we'll definitely talk about because the spot and the projection are good. But I think he's an interesting pivot there right at the same price range against a team that, like you said, probably a bit fraudulent offensively, stats being buoyed a bit by having like 70% of their games so far in that home park in Tampa. So I like Barrios here. He's my main interest in this game. I don't know what to do with Shane Baz right now. Probably just a wait and see on him. We both like the talent in the arm, but it's not really a good strikeout matchup anyways. I could see, there just aren't that many great offensive spots on this slate that really stand out. So, I could see Toronto here if you're buying in that Bob really is broken. I'm not sure if I'm ready to get completely there yet, but I will say this lineup's really cheap. The top four, Springer's been quietly very good this year. There in the 4-hole, Bo, Bichette, cheap at short. So I think I'll probably leave Toronto minis in the pool. Getting Varsho back for them is pretty big. He came back last week, already hit a bomb or two. Just kind of lengthens the back half of the lineup when we had Kirk hitting fifth for the first month of the season. Now that's Dalton Varsho against righties. So probably the top 4 or 5 here for me for Toronto.
Yeah. And I agree with you on Barrios. I do think on paper he looks like a pretty good play here. Just hard for me to get excited about him. He just doesn't seem to have the big games very often. And, obviously at this point in his career, not getting better as a pitcher. So I'm fine with Barrios. There are other options I like better. Not playing 150 lineups tonight, so I don't think I'll end up on any Barrios. But I get the play.
Yeah.
I can't do it with Shane Baz, even at the low ownership, given how he's performed and the low strikeout matchup. So, yeah, Barrios makes sense. I don't hate mini stacks on either side, but it is kind of the defining characteristic of the slate, at least from where I'm at. I mean, I don't see really any offensive spots I'm really in love with. So, it does kind of open up, I think, perhaps more offenses to be in play if you can't find any.
Yeah. Really well. And, if you have a strong take on one of these middling offenses, I kind of think you lean on it on a slate like today where, we don't have a Padres and Coors with an 18 total or something like that you're battling against. And you're really only giving up half a run of projection by playing something like Toronto over these other top stacks.
Yeah, I mean, if I could find one that I really love, I do think it'd be a night to just kind of send it on that offense because there's just not that many any spots to go to. Laughing at Uncle T here. Let's get to the next game of the night. Go ahead.
No, I just saw Terry's comment. Yeah. Until you get bullied into it.
Yeah. Could happen. We'll see. Pittsburgh and the New York Mets are up next. This one in Citi Field. Moderate conditions here, 60 degrees, low 60s. Some light winds, it looks like, across the field out to left field. Kodai Senga going for the Mets here. He's been kind of quietly really, really good this year. He's not a guy I play a ton of. And I guess his results, Steve, have been more consistent than they have been, big games, right? Like
he hasn't really spiked that big strikeout game yet.
He hasn't at all. I mean, he hasn't been below 14.2 DK and hasn't been above 24.2. That is a 10-point range for a pitcher who's made, 8 or 9 starts, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's a very, very narrow range of fantasy scoring. So, yeah, I don't play much Senga, but you got to at least consider him tonight, I think, against this Pirates team that's not any good. So, yeah, Senga, I think, a solid play there, 9,500. The price tag feels a lot to me. And if you look up the strikeout to rock ratio, it's not great, right? He is walking.
Troubling, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't really think he's a $9,500 pitcher, but, I get it. I do get it with Senga. Don't think I'm going to get there. Yeah. All these East Coast games are kind of weather dependent. So
yeah,
we'll talk about them all because I do think all of them, obviously outside of the ones that were already banged, have a good chance to play. So we'll revisit the weather as we go along. But I think we got to at least prepare that these games are going to go. Is that how you're doing it, Steve?
Yeah, I'm currently preparing as if they're going to go. The issue is going to be when I upload my run at the end of the show and get my ass up to Wrigley Field, and then this game gets banged, and I have to switch out all of my Mets because I kind of do like the Mets offense here too. We got to talk about them too. Senga, yeah, I mean the price tag's up, but the top of the pricing spectrum at pitcher today is kind of tricky. We got Fried at 10.5 in a tough spot.
Yeah.
Bubic is fully priced at 9.7. I think if there was a spot for Senga to pop a big game, this Pirates lineup without O'Neal Cruz has got to be a really good opportunity for that 27th weighted runs created plus, dead last in ISO in the split against righties over the last month. Yeah, the walk rate is concerning, but against a young, inexperienced team like the Pirates, I could see this being the spot where he does spike one. I'm not going to play him on my main team, but Captain's got a really good projection on him here. I am going to have some of him in my 20 just because I do think that 10, 12 strikeout game is in there. And this Pirates lineup without Cruz, I don't think we have it yet. They're probably waiting on him, but one of the worst in baseball for sure. I think Senga's the highest, and I'm really willing to go at pitcher. We'll talk about the other guys, but I like him some. And then I like the Mets bats here. Yeah. They've kind of quietly, at least in my mind, been just pummeling right-handed pitching, top 5 in all the advanced metrics. Mitch Keller, we know they can get away from him. And yeah, like the cheap bats in the back half of the order help to balance out the big 3 bats on the Mets. So yeah, I'm in on Mets here. I think they're going a bit overlooked on a slate where we don't really have great spots offensively overall.
Yeah, makes sense. I like the Mets as well, especially those. I mean, lefty power is what you want against Mitch Keller, and the Mets have, I think, 3 really good ones: Lindor, Soto, Nimmo, and then obviously one of the best hitters in all of baseball right now, Pete Alonso, in the middle of those guys. So again, expensive, right? For sure to get the Mets into your lineup, but I do think it could easily prove worth it. Those guys are clearly the top 4 for me from the Mets. Do you have how do you rank the rest of them? Vientos looks fine.
Yeah,
Alvarez, Beatty, those guys are all fine too. So yeah, this whole lineup looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm always a sucker for Alvarez. He won me the $50K last summer with it was either 2 or 3 bombs. So always a soft spot for him. Always nice to get the catcher out of the way with your full stack too. So I'll say Alvarez. Vientos is still cheap. So yeah, no, I think the Mets are one of the best stacks on the board, and we just got here from Terry. We just got the Pirates lineup, no Cruz again. So bump to Senga. Just keep an eye on the rain there.
Yeah, pretty significant bump, honestly, to Senga there. Obviously, Cruz, by far the most dangerous bat in that Pirates lineup. Let's get to Washington and Atlanta, another game with potential rain. And then I do think they'll play in Atlanta, but do need to keep an eye on it as we get closer to lock. Obviously, in the RPS Discord, we'll be on top of that stuff, giving our recommendations for any of these weather games, that frankly might come down to the wire, right? Whether or not you're going to play some of these games, whether or not they start to delay, all that stuff. Again, just got to see kind of what the weather's looking like when we have to make that decision. Don't have to make it for a couple hours here. But anyway, let's talk about this game as if it's going to play. Braves and Nationals. Schwellenbach going for the Braves. He's been a little bit disappointing, Steve, results-wise at least. Even last time out against the Reds, a good outing. 6 strikeouts over 6 innings, 1 earned run, but not fantastic. And it's been a while. You got to go back to April 4th, rather. So, a month and a half before he's last scored over 20 fantasy points for Schwellenbach. So I'm not really concerned about his recent not poor performances, but, mediocre performances. I do still think he's better than an $8,200 pitcher. I will say 6 lefties in the Nationals lineup tonight. Schwellenbach's K percentage sits around 28% versus right-handed bats, down to 21% versus lefties. This is a lineup that does okay making contact in general. I came into the day expecting to be more excited about Schwellenbach than I ended up, but he still did end up as 3rd or 4th preferred pitcher for me on the slate. So I still do like him, but the lineup, the matchup has me not concerned, but I just don't think it's maybe quite as strong for him individually as it could be for some other pitchers. And then Soroka, I just don't think there's much to Soroka right now. I mean, he made one start to open the year, goes on the IL, comes back, looks okay for a few innings, and then gets knocked around. I think he's going to have, in the long term, a lot of blow-up starts. He seems very, very hittable to me, does Mike Soroka. And this Braves team, I know they can be disappointing at times, but it's still a talented lineup. There's no question about that. So I'm in on the Braves here, in on Schwellenbach, and all Atlanta in this one. Your thoughts here, Steve, Nationals and Braves.
Yeah, Schwellenbach just at 8,200, a bit of sticker shock for me. I think both Cease are well underpriced on the slate. We've seen the Nats just really crumble over the last week or two. DC, they lost 6 or 7 in a row. The bats have really gone quiet. I know because I tried to play them all weekend in that series over the weekend at home against the Cardinals. They just didn't do shit. I mean, he's got the best xFIP on the slate, 3.13. I don't expect him to continue to struggle. I actually expect him to continue to improve as we go forward in the season. And I think this is probably we played him in that last start against the Reds, and he looked good. I think that these are the 2 cheapest price tags we'll see on him the entire season. So I'm going to be buying on Schwellenbach again. Nats bottom half offense. They've been completely dead over the last 2 weeks. I'm in on him, and I'm tentatively in on the Braves.
Yeah.
It's
hard to be anything more than tentatively in on the Braves.
They're just so hard to trust. Goddamn, how many good spots are they going to have this season where they just can't get anything going?
Part of the problem for them is they don't steal any bases, so it's all you got to.
It's like station to station, just waiting.
You have to get the home run. If you don't get the home runs, they're not going to get there.
Yeah, I will say part of the reason why the Nats have been plummeting is their bullpen has been horrendous. Last 30-day bullpen, DC 7.97 ERA. So, Soroka as a guy who can get wild. Maybe they get him out of there after 4 or 5 innings and then destroy the bullpen. So, on a slate where there aren't that many great spots for bats, I think you got to like some Braves here. Saber likes them, of course, because it's using long-term data that apparently goes back past my memory when the Braves were good. Tentative interest in Braves bats. I think Schwellenbach's the best play in this game.
Yeah, and this normally wouldn't even be worth mentioning, but Soroka gets injured on 40% of his starts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, he's just true. He just cannot stay healthy. And then when you throw in that horrible bullpen behind him, you do have an awesome ceiling outcome here for the Braves, where Soroka, either they crush him or he gets hurt and he's out, in an inning or two, and then all of a sudden the Braves have a chance to just absolutely go crazy. So, they'll probably disappoint, but they do make a lot of sense. I feel like
on paper they make sense here.
Yeah, I mean that's true for most teams, but not with this Nationals bullpen. I mean, it's rough. They got almost nothing in there. I think the Braves could potentially, of course, have a big night. Let's get to Wrigley Field. You said you're headed to the game tonight. Hopefully, this Cubs bats can do a little bit more than they did yesterday. I mean, they looked on point, did the Cubs, right? I mean, they were just squaring it up every time against Cal Quantrill. No surprise there. Unlucky, I think, to only score 5 runs in that game. But c'est la vie. They get a pretty similar matchup here against Volante Belloso. Similar weather. And I was on Ray last night. I really, really like Ben Brown tonight. My second favorite arm on this slate. A lot of the reasons I like Colin Rea. The conditions are good to pitch in, especially against this Marlins team. Most of their power comes from the left side. Tough park to go deep in, swinging from the left side tonight. And Ben Brown, I mean, he's kind of all over the place, right? As a pitcher, still learning and developing for sure. But he has been pretty damn good in 4 of his last 5 starts. And in general, has faced some pretty tough competition. He's placed the Dodgers twice, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Phillies, Milwaukee, even San Francisco in his last matchup, right? That's not like a great matchup. So Brown has not had an easy road. He's looking better and better to me. He's thrown 100-plus pitches in 2 of his last 4 outings. I'm not sure we really expected that from Brown coming into the season. Cubs, it's not a great bullpen behind him. Frankly, they probably want some distance from Brown if he can give it to him tonight. Good spot to pitch. And listen, he's missing a lot of bats. 9 strikeouts against San Francisco. He's a 2-pitch pitcher, Steve. It's just fastball, knuckle, curve.
Yeah.
But that curveball is nasty. And I think Brown could contend for SP1 tonight. So I love Ben Brown here. I think he's too cheap, 7,500. I think the upside is very, very high. All Cubs for me in here. Got to go back to the Cubs after letting us down last night. Same spot. Got to go back to it against Belloso. Give me your Cubbies tonight.
Yeah, I love the Cubs bats. I'll start with Ben Brown here. My only issue is I think he's going to end up being really popular. I'm seeing 33% in the lotto right now. An obvious great spot in good hitting weather at home. The 2-pitch mix just scares me.
Not against the Marlins, though.
Yeah. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do yet with Ben Brown. Probably not playing him on my main just because I do like the Cease-Schwellenbach combo. It's only 700 more to Schwellenbach here. But, man, awesome projection on Ben Brown. I can't argue with any of that. The only thing is the ownership for a pitcher that I don't really think is that good. But, yeah, he is missing bats. The strikeout rate is there. He's got 30 Ks in 19 innings at home here, even though he's gotten knocked around in his starts at Wrigley. Yeah, I have some just overall talent concerns, but the matchup, the projection, everything lines up for Ben Brown. But, yeah, going right back to the Cubs. Only caught part of the show yesterday, but I'm sure you talked about the Marlins and their penchant for allowing teams to just run wild. We didn't really get a chance for that last night. The guys who run on the Cubs, basically only Swanson got to first base. He immediately stole second. All the other hits were doubles or home runs. They didn't really have many chances to steal bases. I think they will here if they get on Belloso. Just some of the worst metrics you'll ever see against left-handed hitters. Has been extremely lucky this year, 3.5 ERA, but 5.83 xFIP. He's got a 13% walk rate and has been really lucky on fly balls, only a 3% home run to fly ball ratio.
Stuff grades, control grades are all in the trash.
Everything's awful. I'm going right back to them. We're, if this, 6 mile an hour wind, we're flipped. I think Cubs are the chalk on this slate since it's blowing in. Not even that hard. They're not going to be chalk. It's going to be the Dodgers and the Rangers who will get to both of those spots. So I'm going to take the ownership discount here and play what I think is the best spot on the slate. I'm going to the game. I've got my hat on here. For those in the chat, I'm not a Cubs fan. I just have the hat for when I stack them and go to the games. But yeah, so hoping for bombs and steals here. I don't think we have the lineup. They called up one of the better young hitters in the minor leagues yesterday. We don't know if he's in
Ballesteros.
Yeah, we don't know if he's in the lineup yet. He's in the projected lineup on Sabre. He's 3K at catcher. John Birdie will run at 2,800 if he can ever get on base. So yeah, I'm weighing on the Cubs here. I'm seeing everyone under 5% besides PCA and Seiya Suzuki. That's just wild in this spot. So I guess the only thing I'll say is that the Cubs projected pretty low last night and ended up pretty popular. So I'm sure they'll get steamed as we get closer to lock. It's actually warmer here today. It's 74 degrees right now. It'll cool off a bit, but yeah, I'm all in on Cubs bats here. I'll be playing a 5-man on my main team in the 121 tonight.
That's Ballesteros, Moises Ballesteros. Again, we don't know if he's in the lineup, but he is absolutely raking in AAA as a 21-year-old, 150 WRC plus, hitting 368 with 4 homers and 3 bombs as a 21-year-old. He could be great coming up for the Cubs here. So we'll see if he's in there. But, yeah, I'm in on him and the rest of the Cubs, assuming he is. And, of course, all the Cubs anyway. But they get the job done. They're not going to fail 2 times in a row. I was laughing, Steve, because I was like on the show. I was saying, I'm not going to be scared of this Wrigley wind anymore. And in the first 2 innings, there was like 3 rockets that would have been out, or over the outfielders' heads at least for like extra base hits.
It wasn't even that. It was like balls ripped down the line and like a diving stop by the third baseman.
Yeah.
It's like one of those games where you just kind of throw your hands up early. Like, all right,
they could have had like 18 hits with the way they crushed the ball.
It's okay. They're going to get it tonight, and they're going to be even lower owned than last night.
Yeah. We'll stop crying now. Texas and Colorado up next. We've got Kyle Freeland going for the Rockies. Obviously not a very good pitcher. He is much better, shockingly, when you take him out of Coors Field. He'll take on the Rangers here. Looks like a right-handed heavy Ranger squad, maybe 8 lefties or 8 righties against the lefty Freeland. And then Jack Leiter going for Texas. Hard to know what to do with Jack Leiter. He opened the season looking pretty awesome against Boston and Cincinnati. Obviously a great talent, great stuff. Went on the IL and then has been pretty bad, frankly, in his last 3 starts against the Giants, Mariners, and Boston. But back home here, pitching at home against the paste-eating Rockies, Steve, I mean, he's a talent. There's no doubt about it. They're going to let him pitch.
I'm playing him here.
He threw 90 pitches. He's pitching in a good place to pitch at home. You have to. I have to have interest in Jack Leiter here at 7K. I have to.
Yeah, I mean, keep going. Sorry.
No, you're good. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, Captain's got an awesome projection on him, 17.2 at 7K.
This upside is so high here.
On a slate where, if we're playing the Cubs who are lower owned, I want to get Kyle Tucker and Seiya and, all these guys in there. So, yeah, I'm definitely playing some Jack Leiter. I'll be over the field on him. And he had gotten off to a really good start to this season before I believe it was a finger injury bumped him out for a couple of weeks. He's struggled since coming back, like you said, but 2 very, very tough matchups against Seattle, who we know is just blasting right-handed pitching right now, and at Fenway, which I believe was in pretty warm weather. His main issue has been the control, just kind of letting innings get away with him with walks. But the Rockies don't really take walks. Bottom, 5 team in baseball in walks run per game. I had to look it up just so I didn't just make up that stat.
Whatever stat you want to say about the Rockies, I'm sure they're bottom 5. So.
Yeah, I mean, fifth highest strikeout rate, dead last, and weighted runs created plus in the split. And I think the most interesting thing is, we've been on these shows with Rockies on seemingly every main slate. They can't play in Cincy for a week and have a 6:40 Eastern game, so they're not on every single slate. It just seems like every pitcher has been 30, 40, 70% like the Robbie Ray day against the Rockies, and we're getting a 7K talented arm under 15% against them here just because he had a bad outing in Fenway. And with this projection from Captain, I will be well over the field on Jack Leiter here.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't work out against the Rockies. You shrug your shoulders and move on. You just gotta play this matchup for a pitcher we know who is capable of striking out 8-10 batters. I really think he could do that. You could also just start walking dudes, and it doesn't matter how bad the Rockies are if you can't throw strikes. But maybe the Rockies will swing at it anyway.
I think we have to talk about what to do with the Rangers bets. I'm sure you had a long discussion about that yesterday because of the ownership. We saw Marcus Semien was 48% in the 121 yesterday, DC.
And you mocked me for playing 6% Dollander at 6K. Come on.
I didn't mock you. I played some Dollander.
Yes, you mocked me.
No, I mocked you locking him.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but once you said that you were on, I got some. I played some Dollander last night. Yeah, I mean, they're in basically the same spot here against a pitcher who historically has done much better outside of Coors, like you said. Like he's a bad fit in Coors, but here I think he can pitch well enough, and like at the price tags of these Rangers bats, they're just going to be popular. Sam Haggerty is going to be possibly the highest owned player on the slate. And he's coming out of the game for Evan Carter the second that Freeland.
Don't talk too much shit on Sam Haggerty. We don't want this face.
That's the only thing I'm saying is that he's coming out of the game the second that Freeland comes out. So
that means he'll hit a home run in his first at bat.
Yeah, the first one in like 5 years. So the way that I'm playing Texas is I'm gonna allow the 1, 2, and 3 mans, but I'm not gonna 5-man Texas here.
Makes sense to me. Any Rocky stacks against Jack Leiter?
No, I'll be riding with Jack well over the field.
Captain Jack, take us home.
Yep.
KC and Houston up next. Two good
Jack Leiter, your money on fire. That's pretty good.
probably how it's going to go, but it's what it is. Royals and Astros up next. Two good lefties here, Chris Bubic and Framber Valdez. Steve, I know you love both of these guys as pitchers. And I do expect both guys to pitch well here, but will the strikeouts be high enough in these matchups? Because these are pretty low strikeout teams overall. I know you mentioned it in Discord. Bubic does have some reverse splits where it appears he might be legitimately more effective against right-handed hitters than lefties, throwing as a lefty himself. That's interesting in and of itself. And then Framber, we know what to expect from him. I do think he's going to be very effective here, but like I said, I just don't know 5 or 6 strikeouts, if that's going to get the job done or not on the slate. I kind of suspect not. But yeah, I think 2 solid pitching options here. I don't really see much at all from the bats that I want. What about you, Steve? What do you see, Royals and Astros?
Yeah, my only issue with Bubic here is the price tag, right? 9,700 stiff tag for him. He's been great. And like you said, he's extreme reverse splits. He's got a xWOBA under 260 against righties. And he's going to face probably 9 here. I'm not sure if we have the lineup. Yeah, we do have them. Yeah. So it's a spot that I like for him. It's just at that price tag, gives me some pause. I think the upside with the strikeouts is better for Senga at that tag. Probably wait and see for me on him. Framber, man, these are the spots that I love playing Framber when no one else wants to play him. He's going to be under 10%. Price tag is good. We know that the Royals can't hit for shit. They don't strike out that much, but they strike out a lot more in the split against lefties. They're more middle of the pack. They're 16th in strikeout rate against lefties, and they have not hit lefties at all. 28th, the weighted runs created plus 29th in ISO. Bobby Witt is basically the only guy in the entire lineup that can hit a lefty. I like Framber here. I don't like him in every start. Like when he's super popular, I don't love him, but the low-owned spot against a team who has not hit lefties all season, I could see like a deep outing, like a deep, efficient outing here from Framber where he strikes out 6 or 7, gives you 25. So he's going to be in the pool for me. Anytime he's like under 9K in a good spot where he's not going to be super owned, I am in on him.
It's funny, the Astros, they're right-handed, just all righties lineup is funny to begin with, but it seems like they never face any lefties at all, which
it's like the 4th lefty they faced all season.
Is humorous, and then they finally get one, and it's Bubic who has reverse splits and owns righties. The Astros did, the Astros did get to Bubic a little bit 3 or 4 starts ago. So I honestly don't know what really the interaction is between a reverse splits pitcher and a team who
basically only
should. Yeah. Who should hit lefties way better than they hit righties, right? So kind of a weird interaction with that. But yeah, don't mind rolling the dice there with Bubic. I don't think I can go to the bats here much at all. Let's keep it moving. We go westward to Seattle for the Yankees and Mariners. Brian Wu going for Seattle. We've certainly been a fan of Mr. Wu, Steve. He's been pretty damn awesome this year. No surprise, much better at home than on the road, like every Seattle pitcher ever. Tough task for him here, though, of course, against the Yankees, who can do a ton of damage. Did so last night against Hancock and company. And Max Fried, who's been fantastic for the Yankees. Last year against this Mariners team, I think I might have been in on Fried here. Hard to do it against this year's
right
version.
Not right now, the way they're swinging.
That's much better. And then also Fried, listen, he's earned the 10-5 price tag. No question about it. But I don't think Fried is like a different pitcher than he was in Atlanta. He's been in that 9 to 9.5 range most of his starts. This doesn't seem like the spot, Steve, to pay all the way up for Max Fried, but I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if he goes out there and throws an absolute gem. So maybe worth it at the ownership, which I think will be suppressed. What are you doing, Steve, with Yankees and Mariners here?
Yeah, I don't have Fried in my pool at 10-5. I just have not been a big fan of attacking Seattle, especially with left-handed pitchers. They just don't strike out at all in the split.
We're not really getting an ownership discount either. Projected 20% owned for Fried.
Yeah, I just don't think it's a good spot, and I like the cheaper pitchers, right? Like we've got Cease, Schwellenbach, who are clearly well underpriced, and I think this is probably the highest price we see in Fried or with Fried all season. So I'm out on Fried at 10-5. I would be shocked if he's on the winner, honestly. Just the way that Seattle's just been punishing basically every team that they face. Like this is just a different offense this year, and they haven't really had many starts where they don't do some damage, right? And at 10-5, you need like a clean outing with a bunch of strikeouts. So I'm out on him. Man, Wu has been incredible this year. 4 straight starts on the road and held his own for the most part. Was really good in a bunch of those starts. He doesn't walk anyone, which helps him go deep. He's gone 6+ innings in every start this year. Lowest walk rate on the slate. It's kind of a bet on talent tournament play at his price tag. I think, kind of similar to Bubic in that, tough spot on paper, but these are really talented arms who can spike upside. So I think he's a reasonable play. I'm not running the window to jam Brian Wu against the Yankees, though.
Yeah, two reasonable plays, Fried and Wu. And, if you get to this last game with a good team and you have Fried or Wu in your lineup, you're going to feel pretty good about your chances. So they're not bad plays by any means. Just we think there are better ones on this slate is kind of what it comes down to. San Diego and the Angels are next. We've talked a bit about Padres starter right-hander Dylan Cease kind of in passing. He is, I believe, both of our SP1s on this slate. Just too cheap at 8,300 against a strikeout-happy Angels team. Also likely run support. Good park to pitch in San Diego. Hard not to like Cease here. The only thing, Steve, is Cease is one of the few pitchers who I do think you want more of just in general when he's unowned and less of just in general when he is chalk. That's kind of true for all pitchers, but I think it's specifically true for someone like Dylan Cease who has control problems at times.
Yep.
Blake Snell is the other guy. Those two are like the 1 and 2 examples for me. Now, I'll probably make an exception tonight. I say that, but I may probably make an exception in playing Cease in my main lineup. But 40% owned, maybe 50% owned in single entry. And there are other good options, I think, on this slate. So you don't have to play Cease. Clearly, projection-wise, I don't think any doubt the best point per dollar pitcher on the slate. But that's not always how the games turn out. So people have to make, obviously, their own decision there. Soriano going for the Angels. We like the arm talent, but the swings and misses and the strikeouts really haven't materialized for Soriano. He reminds me a little bit of like a young Dustin May in that sense, where the stuff looks awesome, but it's the sinker, right? That's such a good pitch, and it just doesn't miss that many bats. So a decent amount of ground balls, doesn't give up a ton of power, but I just don't think Soriano, even at 6,300, is really in play against the Padres. I do have some interest in this Padres lineup, Steve, because Soriano doesn't strike out that many guys. I know he doesn't give up a lot of home runs, but like the Padres are a team that can string together a lot of hits and kind of keep the line moving. I do think they're interesting, maybe more as a secondary stack. Where'd you end up? I know you're on Cease, but talk about Cease and the rest of this game, Padres and Angels.
Yeah, Staver's got a good point too. Soriano can lose it with walks too. And the Padres are kind of that team, right? They've got the three big power bats in Tatis, Merrill, and Machado. And the rest of their guys are just – it kind of seems like trying to get on base for when those guys come up. They are a team that strings together big rallies. And, yeah, I mean, they're expensive. But I think with a guy like Soriano, DC, like you want the full stack against them, right? Like, he walks a bunch of guys – you get the sustained rally.
And like right next to each other, right? Like straight up 1 through 5 or whatever you're doing. You want them next to each other.
And the Angels' pen is bad behind him. On a slate where we haven't really liked that much offense, I think the Padres are pretty sneaky here. We do like the cheaper pitchers tonight. We talked about Brown. We talked about Leiter here and Berrios. I think the Padres are interesting. Don't love the park always, but, they did just fine last night. I think it's an intriguing spot for the Padres. Jackson Merrill.
The park-wise, there's not really any great hitting environments on the whole slate, so it's not that bad for the Padres in comparison to what other teams that get to hit in.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of why we're so high on the Cubs, right? It's because you aren't really giving up that much with the Cubs weather here. So yeah, I'm in on the Padres. I'll be lower on guys like Bogarts, Hayward, and Maldonado, but Cronenworth is still cheap there in the 7 hole. I think this I would definitely keep them in the pool here. Just an interesting spot, right? On a slate where not a lot is standing out to me offensively. And then Cease. God, I wish he was going to be so high owned. We just got a lot of those guys on the slate, right? We talked about Senga's kind of similar with the high walk rate, high strikeout rate guy. Framber can be volatile. Berrios can be volatile. We've got a bunch of these guys on the slate, but the projection and price tag on Cease, I mean, he should be 10K at home against the Angels.
So let me ask you a question. So let's assume that Cease, we know he's 8,300 on this slate, and let's assume 50% ownership is that a fair number? I think.
Yeah. Yep.
If he was 10K, like you mentioned, he should be. What number would his ownership have to be where he would become a better play at 10K than he is tonight at 8,300 and 50%? I don't know the answer to this question, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I think he'd probably be about 20% or so, and I would probably be over the field there. This is just kind of a spot where it's hard not to play a bunch because, like, in a home matchup against this Angels team that's got the highest strikeout rate in baseball against righties, Cease can 35 here and just put away the field. So he's a really scary fade, especially in single entry stuff. I'll be having him in the 121. It's just a really tough spot to get off of, and I'm just going to eat it, honestly. So yeah, it's a bunch of Cease and some Padres here.
I'm with you on that one. Mostly aligned tonight, it seems like. We'll see if any differences is in these last 2 games. We go out to San Francisco. Normal weather there. Looks like stronger winds blowing out, but I don't think it really makes much difference in that park. We've got Robbie Ray going for the Giants, who I was wrong on Robbie Ray. I kind of wrote him off a little bit. Thought he was going to struggle, and he has been really, really good, especially these last 3 starts, including against your Cubs. Had a strong 6-inning outing in that game. 8 strikeouts in the previous 2 prior to that. One was against the Rockies, but the Rangers as well. And yeah, Ray has looked really good. I'm not going to play him at 9K against the D-backs, but he's been good enough where I'm not really considering the D-backs in San Francisco. And then Brandon Pfaadt going for the D-backs. He's been pretty good. He did absolutely own the Dodgers last time out. I was on the Dodgers in that game. That was not a fun one to watch back in the Dodger blue. But, yeah, I'm not playing Pfaadt here at 8,700. I just think there are way better options. So I'll let you make a case for either pitcher if you want to, but this is a game, Steve, I'm not going to end up really with much of this game at all.
Yeah, my main interest in this game, we talked about it right before we came on, is the debut of Jordan Lawler, top prospect for Arizona, in the lineup tonight at shortstop, 2K minimum. I actually love that he's sitting down in the order. He'll be lower owned because of that. Really, really like him. I'm going to allow him, even by himself, in lineups here. I think he's got the upside at 2K to be a one-off play. Ray has been great. Fott has been great. Fott changed his pitch mix a bit to lefties. Like his big deal was he just couldn't get lefties out. Changed things up. We're not entirely sure if that's something that's going to stick long term. But for now, in this park, it's good enough for me to be off of Giants here. But at the 8,700 tag, kind of tough for me to play him either. So this is kind of a cross-off game for me. Outside of I'm gonna have some one-offs with Lawler and like two-mans with Ketel Marte, who we know has a bunch of pop against left-handed pitching, Gino Suarez, guys like that from the Arizona side.
Yeah, Lawler, power and speed in the minor league. I think he has like 6 home runs and 13 steals. We know the Diamondbacks love to run in general, so I do expect Lawler to. We have seen a lot of rookies come up and struggle, kind of their first or one of their first chances they get, but he's 2K, and these 2K rookie hitters with talent when they come up, I think are some of the best buys in DFS. Obviously, doesn't always work out, but you got to take a shot at 2K with a talent level this high. I think he's a pretty easy play, and buried in the lineup. Hopefully, that will bury the ownership as well.
Yeah, and he's a good way to get. Well, I think he's a good way to get away from the very popular Texas cheap bats. If you play a Lawler one-off, maybe you don't have to play these cheap Texas guys. So that's.
I like that you didn't mention his name specifically. That was very, very shrewd of you. We don't. The one Texas guy that everybody wants to play.
He's been mentioned before. We don't need to mention him again.
Yeah, he does not deserve another mention. Play Jordan Lawler with me and Steve instead. Last game of the night, A's and Dodgers. Low 60s in Los Angeles. Going to be a little bit cooler for this one. Landon Knack going for the Dodgers, who are I know this is supposed to be the juggernaut team. I don't know if this pitching is going to hold up all year for the Dodgers. They seem like they might run out of arms to me. But regardless, for tonight is going to be Landon Knack. He's been okay for the Dodgers. I don't really have any interest in playing him, but he's been good enough where I don't love the A's, especially against that Dodgers bullpen behind Knack, who I assume we'll see a good ban Beener, get him out of here, a good portion of the game against the A's. And then Jeffrey Springs going for the A's. He's been okay in his last 2 starts. He is still, Steve, a pitcher I want to be targeting against more often than not. I just don't see it with Jeffrey Springs. You look at some of the individual matchups, right? You don't love it, lefty for Ohtani and Freeman, but I think Springs is bad enough. I'll make an exception. And it's a tough slate for hitting. So Dodgers to me versus Jeffrey Springs have got to make the cut. One of my favorite stacks today. What are you doing, Steve, with Dodgers and A's here?
Yeah, Dodgers in a great spot. Poor Jeffrey Springs. Like he had that 1 or 2 starts where he got to face the White Sox, but he has had just a really tough string of matchups, and now he's going to go to LA to face the Dodgers. The Dodgers are, I think, pretty obviously going to be the highest owned stack here. Sabres got 42% owned Shohei Ohtani on this slate.
Okay, never mind. Then I'll move on to someone else.
Jesus Christ, that is high. And like the reason that he's so high, right, is because against lefties, they're going to start guys like Kike Hernandez and Rojas and Taylor. So like it's really easy to get Ohtani in when you're playing Dodgers 5-mans.
All the pitch hit guys, you want them with the lefty Ohtani? Okay.
No, I'm saying that's why he's so easy to get to.
I was talking to the masses.
The masses. Yeah. It's just easier to click them when you can also click these cheap guys in there. So yeah, obvious great spot for the Dodgers. I kind of prefer the Cubs here, 1-1, especially when we're factoring ownership. I'm seeing Will Smith 30-ish, Ohtani 40+. Sabre right now has the most common thing being 5-man Dodgers with that 1, 2, 3. So Ohtani bets Smith, 2 of the cheap guys with 3 of the cheap Texas guys. So that's something that I'll be actively avoiding for a main. It just makes too much sense to click in. So I kind of like Pages too. He probably gets lost in the shuffle here a bit. He's priced between the super cheap guys and the studs, and he's been pretty good all year. So obviously like the Dodgers here. You said no interest in the A's. I don't know. I just wish they were cheaper, man. Because against the Dodgers bullpen, it's just tough. And we do know that if Nat gets into any trouble, they're going right to the pen, and it could just be over. I'm going to keep Langoliers in there. He's only 4K on a slate that's pretty weak at catcher overall. So I like, the one-off power bats for the A's, with my favorite being Langoliers here.
Makes sense. That is all 10 games. I'm going to pull up the East Coast weather here, but we will do the Dong draft, of course, as well. So, Steve, if you're ready, we'll give you first pick. As a reminder, 3,500 or below is worth 1.5. Go ahead, Steve. Pick your first home run of the night.
Yeah, well, we should start with an update. You last Tuesday got on the board, so you're up 2-1 in the Dong draft.
Excellent.
Against me. I'm pissed because Francisco Alvarez is 3,600, ruining my. I just assumed that he was under 3,500, ruining my cheap bet. I'll go with Jordan Lawler as my cheap pick to go yard tonight.
Don't know if I'm going to have a 3,500 or under player today, but I will make my first. You got Jordan Lawler. I know you're going to pick him, so that's all good. Give me. I know he's been a little cold lately, but give me Juan Soto against Mitch Keller. Love Soto tonight.
All right, I got to take a Cub here. I'm going to go with Michael Busch. Goes deep tonight for the Cubs.
Should have used one of those yesterday, Mr. Busch. Maybe tonight will be the night. I will go with Matt Olson against Soroka.
All right, and then lastly, I'm going to go with the guy that we talked about at the start of the show, Dalton Varsho, off to a decent start since coming back off the injury report. Benair, I thought about it, but I can't say his name again. So, just as a cover your ass pick.
And I'll go against one of your pitchers with my next one, Mr. James Wood against Schwellenbach. Not quite as good against left-handed bats. Think James Wood, by the way, just an incredible player. He's been fun to watch this season.
Yeah.
Pitching combination, Steve, what are you looking at as your favorite pitching combination tonight?
Yeah, Cease Schwellenbach for Maine. I'm actually pretty surprised that Schwellenbach is projected lower than Ben Brown here because they're so close in price. So I'll go with that combo. But my most important two guys are probably going to be Barrios and Jack Leiter. I'm going to be on the cheaper arms here. I will have some Ben Brown, but I do like the pivots around him tonight.
I narrowed it down to 4 pitchers, so I'll just give them all. 4 pitchers I'm on. Cease and Brown is my favorite 2, and then Schwellenbach and Jack Leiter. Those are the 4 guys that I'm using tonight at pitcher. Finally, Steve, your top 2 stacks of the evening.
Yeah, I'll go with the Cubs. I am pretty tilted that they don't have a lineup yet because I've got to leave right after the show, and Saber doesn't have the lineup in yet. So, of course, that happened.
You're going to have to pull a man going and bring your laptop to the bar.
That's not happening. I do that on weekends, but I can't bring it to the actual game. So I'll go Cubs is my favorite, and then my under the radar stack, I'll go with the Mets. We talked about them at the top of the show. They profile really well the lefties against the Pirates here. We have
same favorite 4 stacks, so I'll name the other 2 that I like. I know you're on them too.
Yeah.
The Braves and the Dodgers. I like both of their chances tonight. So hopefully a good night. And Steve, you got to get over the field on Ben Brown if you're going to the Cubs game. Come on now, you're gonna be.
I want to see runs on both sides.
No. You want the
see a
dominant outing from. You want the 12-0 Cubs victory.
I want a 17-3 win.
We'll take it. We'll take the 17-3. It'll be a good night for me with the 17-3 Cubs. That'll do it for this show. We'll be back. Me and Steve, same time, same place tomorrow. Appreciate everybody watching. Good luck in all your contests tonight. Good luck to your Cubs, Steve, and until tomorrow. He's Boyden. I'm DC. We're out of here.